If you're a Canadian or American retiree flying into Europe in 2026, you're walking into a border system that looks familiar from a distance, but feels different up close. That change is called EES, the EU's entry or exit system, and it's the reason your first arrival may include a kiosk, a facial scan, and fingerprints before you ever have the classic 2-minute chat with a border officer. The good news is this: EES isn't a test, and you don't need to memorize rules to pass. You just need a calm, repeatable plan for your first entry, because that's when your biometrics are enrolled and the line can move slower. In this video, I'll walk you through what happens step by step, what to prepare before you leave home, what to do in the moment at the counter, and how to avoid the few friction points that catch retirees off guard. And if you like travel that feels free instead of fragile, subscribe, because TravelChoir is built for North American retirees and others who want more adventure with fewer surprises. EES is the EU's entry-exit system. Think of it as the end of border control being mostly ink stamps and manual judgment calls. The system electronically records your entry and exit events and links them to your travel document and biometric identifiers. For most short-stay visitors, that means your first entry under EES involves capturing a facial image and fingerprints, and then later trips generally feel quicker because the system can verify you rather than create you from scratch. What makes 2026 important is that EES is being rolled out in phases. It became operational on October 12, 2025, and the phase period runs through April 10, 2026, when it is expected to be fully operational. In plain language, early 2026 can still feel a little uneven depending on the border crossing point, the airport layout, and how many first-time enrollments are arriving in waves. After the phased rollout ends, you should expect the EES-style process to be the default experience across participating external borders. One detail that keeps people from getting scammed: EES is not something you apply for online, and it's not a paid authorization. It's a border procedure. You enroll when you arrive. If you see a site selling an EES form or EES approval, treat it like a scam wearing a suit. If you're traveling on a US or Canadian passport for tourism, visiting family, or doing the classic retiree pattern of a few weeks here, a month there, EES is meant for you. It applies to visa-exempt short stays and is designed to track your movements under the familiar short stay allowance, including the 90 days and 180 days rule. If you have EU resident status, a long-stay visa, or you're entering using an EU passport as a dual citizen, your lane and your workflow can be different. The point is not to complicate your life, but to set expectations. Most viewers of this channel are probably going to experience EES as a first-time enrollment at the border, followed by faster verification on later visits, unless you renew your passport or your EES record expires and you're treated as new again. If you travel with grandchildren, there's a common worry. Are they taking fingerprints from kids? In general, children under 12 are not required to provide fingerprints, even though they still need to be identified and processed appropriately. That's one of those details that can save a family trip from a stressful moment at the front of the line. Now let's make this concrete. You land, you follow signs to passport control, and instead of it being purely a booth and stamp experience, there may be an additional step before the booth. Many airports and border points use a self-service kiosk or enrollment station as part of the EES process. You scan your passport, the system reads your data, and then it captures your facial image. After that, you provide fingerprints. For most people, it's quick, but it's still a new step. And on heavy arrival banks, it can add time simply because every person is doing something that used to take seconds. After enrollment, you still speak with a border officer. This matters because some travelers imagine EES replaces human checks. It doesn't. The officer may still ask the classic questions, especially on first entry: why you're visiting, how long you plan to stay, where you're staying first, and whether you have onward travel plans. What changes is that the officer's screen now has a cleaner digital record of your entries and exits, rather than relying on a stamp trail that can be messy or easy to misread. At land borders, the same logic applies, but the physical flow can vary. You might be directed to a kiosk area, Ask to step aside briefly for enrollment, then return to your line or vehicle. At sea borders, including cruise contexts, you may be processed in a designated area depending on the port and how local authorities run arrivals. The key idea stays the same. First entry equals enrollment, and enrollment equals a bit more time. One practical reality. During a phased rollout, some locations may still stamp passports at times as procedures transition, but you should assume the long-term direction is digital records replacing stamps as the core tracking method. Retirees who travel smoothly do one thing better than everyone else. They remove tiny uncertainties before they become big stress at the counter. Start with your passport condition. A damaged photo page, a questionable chip, or an almost expired passport can trigger manual handling and slow down your line. Then give yourself clarity on the 3 questions borders love: where you're staying first, how long you're staying, and what your general plan is. You don't need a rehearsed speech. You need calm confidence. We're here for 5 weeks, starting in Lisbon, then Seville, then Paris, and we fly home from Paris, is simple, human, and consistent. Next, keep proofs accessible, not buried. Even if nobody asks, you'll feel better knowing your first accommodation confirmation is easy to pull up, your return or onward booking is easy to show if requested, and you have a reasonable picture of your itinerary. This isn't about being interrogated. It's about not fumbling while your body is tired from an overnight flight. Then plan your connection times like someone who respects their own energy. If your first entry into the Schengen area happens at a major hub and you have a tight onward connection, EES enrollment can be the difference between pleasantly brisk and unnecessarily stressful. Build breathing room. Your future self will thank you. If mobility or stamina is a factor, request airport assistance early. Airports are built for this, and using assistance is not weakness, it's wisdom. The whole point of retirement travel is enjoying the day, not proving you can power through it. There's also an optional tool some retirees may like. The EU's Travel to Europe mobile app can allow eligible travelers to pre-register passport data and a facial image shortly before reaching a border where the app is supported. It's not mandatory, and it's not available everywhere. But for the right traveler, it can reduce friction by letting you do some steps in calm lighting, seated, before you ever join a line. And since systems are only useful if you can actually use them, I have a free 1-page EES First Entry Checklist, designed for US and Canadian retirees and others, built to be printed or saved on your phone so you arrive calm and prepared. I'll link it in the description, along with a small set of travel tools I recommend for smoother arrivals. In the moment, your goal is not speed. Your goal is clean execution. That's what keeps the line moving anyway. When you reach the kiosk or enrollment station, follow prompts carefully. If asked, remove hats and adjust glasses so your facial image capture is clear. Don't rush fingerprints. Press firmly, hold steady, and follow the device's cues. Many delays come from light contact or lifting too early, which forces repeats. If your hands are dry, cold, or your skin is sensitive, a second try is normal. If you have arthritis, take your time. The system is designed for real humans, not perfect lab samples. Then comes the conversation with the border officer. Keep it simple and aligned with your reality. When asked why you're visiting, tourism is a complete answer. When asked how long, give the true duration of your trip. If you're doing a multi-country route, state your first stop and your general plan without overloading them with detail. Your first accommodation location is usually the most useful anchor. If asked about return travel, reference the fact you're leaving within your allowance and you have a flight or onward plan. The main mistake retirees make here is over-explaining because they feel nervous. Nervous talking creates confusion. Calm answers create flow. The most common EES friction point isn't the technology. It's fatigue mixed with uncertainty. So let's neutralize it. If you arrive on an overnight flight, assume your brain is slower. That means you should have your documents ready before you join the line, not after you reach the front. If you wear progressive lenses, if you have hearing aids, if you've had eye procedures, none of that is a problem. But it can mean you want to slow down and follow the image capture instructions carefully. Good capture equals fewer repeats. If you travel as a couple, decide in advance who carries the confirmations so you're not both searching through phones at the same time. For retirees who travel in chapters, meaning you do 60 days, go home, then return later, EES can actually protect you because it tracks entries and exits precisely. But it also removes the wiggle room of messy stamps and uncertain counting. If you're a long-stay, short-stay traveler, make the 90-180 calculation a habit rather than a guess. Precision is peace. Now a warning that matters in 2026. When new systems roll out, scammers follow the headlines. Remember the rule. EES is not a paid online authorization. Separately, the EU's ETIAS authorization system is expected to start later, in the last quarter of 2026, and you should treat any third-party site trying to sell you early ETIAS applications as fraudulent until official EU channels say otherwise. If you want the recommended travel tools I use for retirees to reduce arrival day stress, including insurance options, connectivity, and arrival logistics, you'll find them linked in the description along with that free EES checklist. Using those links supports TravelChoir at no extra cost to you. EES in 2026 is not something to fear. It's a process change, and retirees who travel well treat processes like systems. Your first entry may take a little longer because enrollment adds steps, especially during busy arrival waves. But once you've enrolled, later trips typically feel more routine. The big win is that your travel record becomes clearer, and your compliance is tracked digitally rather than relying on stamps and guesswork. If you want, in the next video, I can walk you through a realistic first-day Europe timeline from wheels down to city center, including transfers, hotel check-in, and the small choices that make day one feel like vacation instead of work. Subscribe for that and grab the free EES first entry checklist in the description so your next border feels calm, simple, and completely doable.